Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council held at 6:30 p.m. on December 10th, 2024. We acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamakis, the unceded territory of Yakutat-Nucleat First Nation. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakutat-Nucleat and are members of the Ktunaxa-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. And before I call the meeting to order, I am very pleased to announce the winners of our 2024 snowplow naming competition. We have a very creative youth in our community. So the winners are, I like this one, Buzz Ice Clear from Ms. Bell's Tuesday, Thursday afternoon class at Bright Beginnings Preschool, Snow Bro 2.0 from Ms. Jackson's grade 3 class at Isabella Dickin Elementary, Olaf from the Outdoor Connections Forest School, Croque Matin from Ms. Gerard Baudin's grade 2-3 class at École Sophie Morageau. And I understand that translates to crunchy mitten or mitten that crunches, which is potentially a mitten filled with gravel that you hit your opponents with. They are great too. Snowy Lama from Ms. Ludu's grade 2 class at the Fernie Academy. And so 5 pieces of our snow clearing equipment will be emblazoned with these names. So watch for Snowbro 2.0 heading down your street this winter. And the winning classrooms will be invited to visit our operations center and see those machines close up. And they will receive a cute trophy to commemorate their win. And I did participate with them last year, and it was great fun with them at the Operations Center. With that, I'll call the meeting to order and ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation that the agenda of the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audia Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And now I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for item 4.1 and the following staff recommendation that the November 26, 2024 regular council meeting minutes be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public participation and invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment items listed on this meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. And a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. So I'll first turn to our gallery and see if anybody would like to speak to this agenda. Seeing no one, I will now turn to Ms. Rhodes and see if there's anybody online. Okay, if you can promote him for us, please, Ms. Rhodes. Good evening, Mr. Inglis. You wish to speak to something on this evening's agenda?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. One thing I would like to ask before I speak, I sent an email out earlier today. I was just wanting to know if Council and Mayor received the email.
It was received, yes.
Great, thank you. I'd like to speak to something on the agenda under your budget, and this has to do with the snow clearing. And I'll be honest, I've lived in Fernie my whole life, and you know what? I attended the budget meetings. I attended the processes, and I asked these questions. And your director, Dustin Hostler, said he's more than confident that the city crews will be able to handle any amount of snow in that. And just the way they're doing things, Mayor and Council, it's not acceptable. I sent you some pictures showing in front of the bank. If a person has to, a senior especially, has to try and get out of their vehicle on the passenger side, they can't with them plowing the windrow towards the sidewalk and leaving that windrow of ice. And not only did I post that online on a few community pages, some of the responses I got from the people with disabilities and that says it was terrible. Then to add to that, a mother posted, try and get your baby out of a car seat when you got to climb over that windrow of ice. So the way the operation...
Sorry, Mr. Inglis, I have to ask, how is this, I understand your concerns about snow removal, but are you relating this back to the budget or the financial plan as listed in the agenda this evening?
Yeah, I'm relating it back to the budget because I don't think things are being done properly. So the budget expenditures aren't being used to the greatest potential because of the way they're doing it, because they're moving the windrow to the side, then they're going to come back again and move that windrow to the middle and then take it out with a blower. So that's what I'm questioning is in the financial budget, why are we moving it twice? And also too, I'll question the safety of it. This all has to do with operational expenses. You're moving the windrow twice. I don't think it should be plowed to the side. That's a personal opinion. And it's unsafe. The practices that you do are unsafe. And one other thing I'd like to note under budget is, and especially you said you were holding your meetings at the senior center to make it accessible for all people. I'm currently in Calgary right now, waiting a flight out of Calgary, and I left Fernie today at 2:00, and I stopped by the senior center. There wasn't one spot of sand anywhere to be seen. I don't know if that has changed for the meeting tonight, but how do you expect people to attend the meeting when the parking lot is pure ice? And I did also, I wanted to note, I did use behind City Hall, I used the recycling bin, and that parking lot behind City Hall is like a gravel pit. It's sanded so well. So I guess my question is, in the budget, how come the City of Fernie staff parking is sanded so well, yet the senior center is left untouched? I thank you for your time. I hope you take a serious note of this, and please educate yourself with the comments online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Inglis. Is there anyone else, Ms. Rhodes, who's indicated they'd like to speak? No. With that, we'll move on to item 10.1, zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw, a report from our manager of planning, Mr. Simolini.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. So tonight I am presenting on bylaw 2523, which is a rezoning bylaw for the southern end of Pinnacle Ridge development, civically known as 50, 52, 54, 56, and 58 Rivermount Place, although it is undeveloped, so there's not actual civic addresses posted on the site. It is from R3, which is our medium density residential zone, to our new RSS zoning, which is the residential small lot zoning. This would allow the developer to develop a wider range of residential dwelling units on the property. The proposal right now is to put, I believe, 17 single-family sort of cottage-style homes on the lot. That would also be the opportunity for secondary dwelling units, suites, and things like that as well. The plan right now for the developer is, I mean, there's a little bit of a layout that's proposed, but that does need to go through the approving officer as well. So it's important to note that if this gets the zoning, because this is part of a phased strata development, any further approvals would have to go through the approving officer as well. So the developer would have to apply to the approving officer, essentially to amend the phase strata plan as it is now. And then the Strata Property Act has some steps that need to be taken by the approving officer in order to move forward with that amendment. The spirit behind that is that the phase strata, which has actually long expired, or I shouldn't say expired, has long since passed its date that it was originally proposed to be done at. The entire strata board that lives there in Pinnacle Ridge sort of is part of that. So it's the approving officer's responsibility to ensure that whatever is proposed to be developed is I guess make sure that everyone is on board with it, and it's in that spirit. So it is consistent with the OCP. Again, it's all of our OCP designations. It's designated infill and intensification. It will get this lot that has been sitting vacant for some time potentially developed. So that's some new dwelling units in Fernie that we haven't seen, and it's important that it is optimizing the existing infrastructure that's there. So our recommendation for tonight is that a council approve the application and that the bylaw is given first, second, and third reading. I should also mention that in following the legislation behind small scale multi-unit housing zoning, this is again one of those ones that isn't allowed to have a public hearing, although we did do public notice prior to first reading. So it went into 2 editions of the Free Press newspaper. It was also hand delivered to residents within 100 meters of the property. And unfortunately, due to the Canada Post strike, notice was not mailed out. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Similini. Questions or comments from council? Councilor Ramirez?
Thanks, Your Worship. Manager, can you remind us how many we have had through SSMUH so far this year? Will this be the first or second?
I'm sorry, Your Worship, through to Councilor Ramirez. Do you mean as far as how many rezonings we've had to small scale? Yeah. Multi-unit housing? I think this is our, well, if you consider the Montaigne one, that was a major one, right? Where we had the overall zoning that was essentially the same as RSS. You know, obviously multiple properties. This would be the second or third one. That being noted, though, when we rezoned all of our existing single family parcel fabric to RSS as was legislated, that would be another one too. And we're actually starting to see a couple applications trickle in now that are adding second and third dwelling units to properties. So we are seeing some uptake.
Other questions from council? I have a couple, Mr. Simile, and this is just for my own edification. So it is part of a phased strata. There are folks who have bought into that strata, and so now do they share a certain level of common ownership, including over this parcel, or is this separate from the dwellings that are already been developed? I'm just wondering what sort of influence the existing tenant or owners would have in this circumstance.
Yeah, Your Worship, that's a good question. So the land itself and it's its own phase of a phase strata. So the developer, the owner that owns the property now, would then subdivide into more strata lots, and those strata owners would own that. But it does have common access, and it does have some common facilities, water, sewer lines, and that come down there. So there is a combined ownership over those lines and that infrastructure that comes in. So I would say that the infrastructure that serves that land is sort of co-owned between the entire strata, whereas the land itself is individual. Okay. And because it's privately held, it wasn't subject to the multi-unit small scale housing rezoning generally in the community. Is that correct? Because otherwise it would be considered restrictive zoning. Yeah, Your Worship, just to clarify, it is zoned R3. So it's multifamily zoning, small scale multifamily zoning, but not RSS. And when we did the small scale multi-unit housing rezone to the entire community, we left the R3 out. So the R3 wasn't included. So there are R3 properties throughout Fernie right now. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. Councilor Kaiser.
Thank you, Worship. The current development that's at Pinnacle, is it R3 right now as well?
Your worship, through to Councillor McIsaac, I believe it's a mixture of R3 and R3R. R3R was the zone that was written sort of custom for the Riverside subdivision, which allowed for short-term rentals or condo hotels, given that it was a historical use in the area where a lot of those units were rented out through the hotel that's there, for example. And so that was done, I think you were probably on council then, Councillor McIsaac, probably 5-ish years ago, I think, when that zoning came in. So it's a combination. Pinnacle Ridge is a combination of both. And I think what happened there is each phase, I believe, has a different strata board. And those strata boards decided whether or not they wanted to be included in that rezoning at the time.
Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just trying to understand what the current density zoning is versus what the potential density will be. I wasn't quite clear from the report.
Yeah, through to Councillor Hamilton. Apologies for the lack of clarity on that. The current zoning, or sorry, the current density, I believe, would allow for 21-ish units. Now, with an approved phased strata, there's a declaration in that phase strata that actually declares the total number of units, so that sort of makes the density in the zoning moot. And they have to apply, if you want to go with less or more units, that's where that approval application to the approving officer comes through. So say, give or take 24 dwelling units for the density and under the R3 zoning. But the RSS zoning has a density of way higher than that. So what we did is, it is one lot right now. But what we did to calculate it, because it's a strata, is we said, how many 250 square meter lots can you subdivide this into? And then multiply that by 4, which is the allowable density for small scale multi-unit housing. And it's like 89 units or something like that. And obviously the way that the lot is configured and the way it would be subdivided with internal roads, like you'd never get that much. But that's in theory, that's what it is. But in practice, it would be, somewhere around what the R3 would allow anyways.
I'm sorry, Mr. Similini, just again for my clarification, if it's now zoned RSS, is it also subject to the condo hotel opportunity, I guess?
Your worship, no, the RSS zone, the RSS zone does not allow for condo hotels. It does allow for short-term rentals following our regulations though. So if you wanted short-term rent a property, you have to apply for a business license. You have to be the principal property owner. You're not allowed to rent out a secondary suite or secondary dwelling unit. Again, as our policy stands now.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you. Councillor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. This is more a request, Manager, when the next quarterly building report comes through, would it be possible to actually keep a count of how many single SSM UH units have been passed so far? Like, is that something that is possible to show us every quarter?
Yes, Your Worship, through to Councillor Ramos. I believe that's a great idea to do, and I think we were planning on it. We'd like to bring that forward, and I just think it's a matter of figuring out where we want to go. Do we want to look at units over 2 on a lot, because you used to be able to do 2?
Mm-hmm.
So 3rd and 4th dwelling units on lots, or just general, and you could do both, right? Like if someone had an R1 property previously, they would have had to apply for rezoning to even build a secondary dwelling unit because it was detached, and that was the difference in the zoning. So I mean, just tracking the amount of secondary dwelling units, 3rd dwelling units, 4th dwelling units on lots versus the amount of rezonings, for example, that we saw before, the amount of applications that we saw before would maybe be a good metric to use.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'd be curious to track, particularly since the legislative change in zoning, what effect it's having on the community. Yeah, Councillor Audie Kelly, did you have a question?
Oh, thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to advocate for what Manager Similini just said.
Yeah.
Like, have all possible worlds tracked,
Yeah.
just so we see what the uptake is for density.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll ask Ms. Daniel to read the recommendation.
That zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2523, 2024 be given first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Ramirez. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Simulini.
Thank you, Worship.
This moves us on to item 10.2, 5-year financial plan bylaw number 2510, amendment bylaw. A report from our Director of Finance, Mr. Burdett.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. Good evening, Council. Tonight, I'd like to walk you through the proposed amendment to the 2024 financial plan. Quick agenda, starting with why do we need to amend the financial plan? I'll follow that by looking at previously approved changes by Council and how they relate to our 2024 budget. We'll then talk about year 2 of the 2024 financial plan, how exactly that works with respect to purchasing larger or more urgent capital items, and what the goal is with this year 2 amendment. And just a point of clarity, year 2 of the 2024 plan does mean 2025, but that does not mean that this is the 2025 budget. They're 2 separate bylaws altogether. So this is the 2024 bylaw that we're talking about tonight. And then after we talk purchasing, I'll just close out the meeting by reviewing what our budgeted reserve balances were for 2024, and then a quick look at the draft schedule for the upcoming 25 budget process. So why do we amend? The community charter is clear that municipality can't budget for a deficit, and that a municipality may amend its plan during the year for any unplanned expenditures. We have 2 items as they relate to our 2024 budget that were previously approved by Council, but approved by Council after the budget was approved. Another reason to amend is that we can also amend future years or year 2 of the financial plan. Staff believe it's a benefit to get started on some of our bigger items scheduled for next year as early as possible before local or provincial suppliers and contractors have their work plans set for the year. As you can see by the yellow highlight there, we had just under 18 million worth of projects in our year 2 budget, noting that the majority of that was a placeholder we had for the fire hall in last year's budget. Staff does have the legal authority to continue operating into year 2 unless Council directs otherwise. And so that's kind of one of the points of tonight's meeting, just to see if Council says no to anything on this list. And so as a result, it's considered best practice just to refresh and update Council of these larger or more urgent projects before staff begins the purchasing process. It's now our 3rd year doing a report like this. 2022, we had several vehicles that we brought forward for Council. Last year, we had the reserve remediation up at Ferry Creek, and we've seen success in starting the purchasing process early. Those projects have been largely completed and on time and under budget, so it's working as we hoped it would. And so of this 17.9 million, staff would like to discuss with Council roughly $2 million worth of capital projects that were in the year 2 budget, and we'll get to those in more detail shortly. But first, this slide is 2 items that pertain to our 2024 budget. For reference, last year we had 8 items on this slide. January 9th and August 27th, Council approved some external contracts to help with performance review and negotiation costs, which resulted in an additional $51,000 from the Financial Stability Operating Reserve. And then April 23rd, Council approved a budget increase to the Coal Creek Utility Crossing Repair Project of an additional $64,000, which was to be funded equally from the Water and Sewer Reserve. As for the intended year 2 budget amendment, to help us get a head start on purchasing, we have the following 6 capital items. I do have a fair amount of speaking points here, so please stop me as I go if you have any questions. It's worth noting that the top 2 items will come back to Council at some point in the future. Our purchasing policy requires Council's approval on purchases over 100,000. So all we're doing today is confirming Council's support to move forward with the purchasing process. So issuing RFPs and evaluating responses and whatnot. And then bringing those results back to Council for ultimate approval. So starting with the winter sand shelter, that's a project that was proposed with design and construction in 2025 that is intended to reduce reduce operating inefficiencies and ongoing material and maintenance costs. Our sand gets rained on a lot and then it freezes and our operators have to spend a lot of time digging it out, as we just saw last week. The annual roads rehab program. The plan here again is to undertake early tender for competitive pricing. This year, staff and IASL are designing the rehab of Canyon Trail and Cedar Ave from the Highway 3 intersection up to the intersection of Bossio Road. This project was chosen as it was recommended in the pavement condition assessment report by Stan Tech for reconstruction in 2024. There's also no municipal utilities under the roadway. Thus, there's little chance of a deep utility repair damaging new pavement in the near future. One change that's proposed with this project is just extending the multi-use pathway on that road to Bossio Road as part of this rehab. The third item on the list there is Ferry Creek source upgrades. This is a request for additional budget for an ongoing program. As council knows, in 2024, the city received conditions from Interior Health on their water system permit. Condition 6 was to update treatment equipment to meet legislative requirements. The condition mentions an application for filtration exemption is still possible, which staff originally believed was not an avenue since the 2023 selenium testing was over the guidelines at the James White Well. Upon further discussions with Interior Health, staff have restarted our UV.
Sorry, Mr. Burdick.
Sure.
Councillor Ramadas.
Thanks, Your Worship. Before we get into Ferry Creek, just wanted confirmation on the road works. Just wanted to orientate myself where it is. Did we say Canyon Trail, Cedar Ave, all the way up to Bossio Road? And can you please elaborate, like what exactly is the work? Like it's. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. To answer that question, the Canyon Trail portion of the road isn't really the part that you want to focus on. From the highway up Cedar Ave up to Bossio, or depending on what mapping software you're looking at, it might be called Ferry Creek Road, that intersection.
And sorry, is it just the entrance to Canyon Trail that then gets tied in? Because that road is reasonably new, I think, is it?
Yeah, that's correct. There's another, just like our missing sidewalk project this year, there's a missing connector between the path coming up the hill and the actual sidewalk that carries up on Cedar Ave. So I think it's less than half a block of it connecting those two pathways.
Thank you, Mr. Heisler. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Back to you, Mr. Burdett.
Thank you. So I was talking about the filtration exemption with Interior Health. Originally, staff believed that was not an avenue, but upon further discussions with them, we've restarted our UV design project and we're now pursuing this exemption instead of needing to install a water filtration system at the Ferry Creek source, which would have been much more costly. So this smaller additional budget will allow staff to progress through the UV facility through detailed design. Elko gravel pit winter sand crushing. We've now resolved all of our permits for this property and are looking at crushing 3 to 5 years of blended sand. The idea here obviously is ultimately to truck our own sand for use in the winter, which would result in a pretty significant operating budget saving. So this budget here is to start stockpiling some inventory out at this property. And then 2025 operating budget, hopefully we'll have a more up-to-date number on the cost to truck this to our facility. And again, would be cheaper than the current practice, which is paying for contractor for our winter sand.
Councillor Hamel.
Thank you. Where are we currently getting our winter sand shipped from?
Through the council, we currently are getting it from a local contractor. Past practice since I've been here has to do 3-year contracts for winter sand with like a delivery before October 31st. So this project is to try to further reduce that cost by utilizing our existing pit out at Elko.
Further,
yeah, I guess more the question, like how far are we currently shipping that sand? Where is it sourced to where it's to city yards?
Yeah, through to council, we're roughly hauling from Morrissey.
Sorry, Mr. Heisler, before you leave, I'm compelled to ask, we've got 350,000 for a winter sand shelter, and we're stockpiling 3 to 5 years of sand at presumably at the pit.
Through to council, this project is to stockpile 3 to 5 years of sand out at Elko. And then we don't have the space to like hold that all in our yard. So we would truck in each year 1 year's worth of that sand.
And we will, it maybe seems like a stupid question, but we'll truck it in dry so that when we're putting it under our shelter, it stays, it doesn't freeze into a big block.
Yeah, that's the purpose of the whole project, to not chip ice all winter. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Burton.
Thank you. Moving on, the fifth item on the list, the CNL right away. Some history here. In 2022, our consultants ISL completed the detailed design to relocate the water and sewer infrastructure on Burma Road, including a design of a new sewer pump station. These designs were completed to the 75% design stage and included as part of an unsuccessful grant application in 2022. Since then, the city has been working with the property owner along a portion of the new alignment to develop a cost-sharing agreement and MOU for this infrastructure to establish a formal right-of-way for the utilities. So the objective of this budget amendment is to complete an analysis and recost of the project, considering the increase in construction costs experienced locally since the project costs were last estimated, which has been quite a few years now. And lastly is an update to our IICP, which is our Integrated Infrastructure Capital Plan. The objective of this project is to update the IICP framework based on recent data collection projects, including the stormwater model validation and the 2023 pavement condition assessment. The update will improve the accuracy of the cataloged infrastructure risks and the resulting recommended prioritized 5 and 20-year capital plans. ISL will review the resulting short and medium-term project estimates and update unit rates based on current data. This updating of our asset inventory is building off last meeting where my budget update report highlighted the gap in our available data. So now staff's working on closing that gap. This slide here is easy to read, and it's here to show our 2024 budgeted ending reserve balances. There is more detail in your report about which reserves have changed, but the reserves affected by tonight's 2024 amendments are water reserve, sewer reserve, and our financial stability operating reserve. And lastly, this is the tentative schedule for our 2025 budget meetings. We almost have these finalized, and once that happens, council will start to receive their calendar invites. The item of note there, third from the bottom, I think it was Councillor Adia Kelly brought up the idea of business banter budget, which sounded like a great idea. So I have a meeting with the chamber next week to talk about how this might look and what the timing of that might be. So as soon as we get more details on that, council will receive that update. Thank you. Happy to answer questions.
Questions from council? Councillor Adia Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Going back to our planned road, I just would like to make note that I think we discovered that our communication process wasn't as robust as we had felt it was. Does the budget include like maybe improving that? We discovered in our last couple of projects that we thought we had communicated quite well, and in fact, perhaps we hadn't.
Through to council, the current plan was to keep the level of communications that council had set on previous 2 years forward with this one, unless otherwise directed.
And sorry, is it Cedar Avenue? There is an alternate access for all the residents up there, I suppose, if it's at any time blocked or inaccessible due to the reconditioning of the surface,
Yeah, that's correct. The access from the egress side through
Burma Road.
Burma Road.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions from council? Mr. Barnowski.
Thank you. If I can, I think this is a significantly different project than the active transportation master plan reconfiguration of a roadway with a number of houses directly accessing sidewalk and roadway from that. This is more of a, Director, you can correct me, I think a collector with an active multi-use, a multi-use path going up that collector. So announcement and a big heads up about this collector changing, but very different than a residential street with more densely located houses. And it is not lost on us that although that notify, engage, share the design, and then construct model hasn't worked well, this is a different scope of project. And so I think as we look at those kind of redevelopments or significant changes, we will be seeking confirmation on scope and then informing on the required budget to deliver a different scope with those projects when council sees those come forward.
Councillor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just following up on Councillor Kelly's thought process here. The communication was one, Councillor, and if you remember, it was also the costing estimate also was a little off, if I remember it right. On that same vein, just wondering how confident are we with that $1.4 million outlay here?
Mr. Eisler.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how far we are along in the design and what our we have 70% design, 30% contingency. I can't remember that quite now, but I can communicate that to council through an email or memo later on if you wish.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Mr. Burdick.
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. I can add some context to that question. I had an email today from Ms. Lyon, actually, which was obviously past publishing. And she said, I have an updated, slightly smaller budget from the consultant. It's now an early ask for 1.314 million as we've trimmed the project limits on Bossio roadside a bit. And that includes the preliminary cost estimate plus a 20% contingency, which I think is pretty standard. And then, so, you know, when we get deeper into the 2025 budget, the more final number will come to council too.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, this effort to go to market early with projects that are slated for 2025 is one way we control the costs, because we get out ahead and get in, early RFPs and in project calendars early in order to save that money. That's the whole strategy here. Mr. Heisler.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to highlight that point, I think when we did the tender on the reservoir rehabilitation work the first time, kind of in a later budget cycle, we were getting 2.1 and 2.2. And then by accelerating it through this year 2 program, we got 1.6.
Yeah, it does pay dividends for sure. So thank you. Other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, I will ask Ms. Daniel to read the recommendation.
That the 5-year financial plan 2024 to 2028, bylaw number 2510, amendment bylaw number 2525, 2024, be given first, second, and third.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
I would just like to bring to note an administrative error on my part. I apologize. From the last item, 10.1, council gave reading to the zoning bylaw, but we missed our opportunity to approve the application. So I would love to read that resolution now and have council approve the application. We are okay to do so after having given 3 readings. They're 2 separate resolutions. So my apologies to council.
No, not at all. Please.
All right.
Yeah.
So the resolution is that council approve the application to amend zoning bylaw number 1750 by rezoning of lot 1 plan NEP 77950 district lot 5237 Kootenay Land District plan strata plan NES 2929 PH 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 from R3 medium density residential to RSS residential small scale.
Moved by Councillor Audie Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you for catching that. And how are you feeling? Are you okay to proceed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Item 11.1, the 2025 council meeting schedule, a report from our corporate officer.
No, don't touch it. That's what everyone's been doing. It's so hard not to. So thank you, council. I'm here tonight to actually do 3 reports just to go through some regular administrative business that we tie up at the end of the year. The first being our 2025 regular council meeting schedule. So it's a legislative requirement for council to publish an annual schedule of their meetings that's available to the public. And within this schedule, we list our dates for our regular council meetings, committee of the whole meetings, as well as a list of conferences that may be attended by council throughout the year. So the dates for our council meetings are actually set in our council procedure bylaw. We hold regular meetings on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month, and our committee of the wholes on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So because again, I sound a little Muppetish, the only point I would really like to pull out from this report is that in 2025, Remembrance Day falls on the 2nd Tuesday of the month. So consequently, the regular meeting that would have been scheduled for that day would be canceled. However, that would mean we would only have one regular meeting that month. So we have connected with the Fernie Senior Center, and they have made available the Monday before November 10th or the Wednesday after the 12th, should we wish to have a council meeting. The only difference would be that we may have some quilters in the back room who would be listening to us while they did their projects, but we would still have full use of this space. So our ask today as staff is that council adopt a regular council meeting schedule and just provide us feedback should they wish to schedule that additional meeting in November.
Comments from council. Councillor Nixon.
I think the Wednesday works a lot better than the Monday for me.
Yeah,
and for other people as well.
I
Along the way.
100% agree, given that, you know, many people will take the Monday off, given that the Tuesday is a stat. But I do, reflecting on the last couple of months, how the agendas toward the end of the year tend to get quite full. I don't know that we could afford to skip a meeting. So I would look to council. I think the 12th makes sense. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And do you need that added to the resolution?
So I do have a resolution prepared. It would be that council schedule a regular council meeting on Wednesday, November 12th, and that council adopt the regular council meeting schedule as attached to this report as amended.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Whew. All right, wonderful. Up next, we have our 2025 deputy mayor schedule. So again, this is a regular legislative piece of business. So we appoint a presiding member for different months should the mayor not be available to be at the meeting when he is absent or otherwise unable to act. And so for 2025, we have listed Councillor Hamilton for January and February, Councillor McIsaac for March and April, Councillor Audie Kelly for May and June, Councillor Rabidas for July and August, Councillor Shoesmith for September and October, and Councillor Nixon for November and December. So I'm just here to answer any questions council may have if they would like to discuss the proposed schedule.
Yeah, and just a comment, we've literally just rolled over the same schedule every year. I don't know if anyone in council would like to change that. It's just kind of followed suit. Councillor Hamilton?
When are you planning on taking extended holidays this year?
Thus far, we don't have any plans to take extended holidays. It did occur to me to ask though, Ms. Daniel, I'm not trying to foreshadow anything or portend anything, but it does talk in your report about the should the mayor be unable to perform his duties or their duties for extended period. So I don't want to use the if I get hit by a bus analogy, but do you, until such time as there is a by-election, does the deputy mayor schedule continue to rotate if it were over an extended period?
That is a very interesting question and also a very real example that actually happened to me back in 2018. So car accidents, buses do happen. So that would be something I would probably check in on, but likely what we would do is set up a schedule of councillors to act as a rotating mayor should anything happen until a bylaw or a by-election could be called. But again, knock on wood, we're not hoping for that to happen.
No, and as we used to say at work, rather than hit by bus, if I win the lottery and decide not to come back. But no, thank you for that. Any other questions? If you could read the recommendation, Ms. Daniel.
That the following council members be appointed as deputy mayor for the months of January and February 2025, Councillor Hamilton, March and April 2025, Councillor McIsaac, May and June 2025, Councillor Audia Kelly, July and August 2025, Councillor Ramadas, September and October 2025, Councillor Shoesmith, and November and December 2025, Councillor Nixon.
Mover, Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. That's unanimous.
All right, and last report from me this evening. So this report is just for us to provide support in making council and board appointments for 2025. So several of these board appointments we do annually. They are either legislatively required or it's something we participated to support, say, the Tuna-Hutkin-Basket Treaty Advisory Committee. We also have 2 internal council committees, our discretionary grants committee and our parcel tax review panel, which are standing council committee appointments, which we also must review annually. So this year was a special year. We did our first round of appointments to council members to external boards, and we did so throughout the year. At the end of May, in August, as well as November. So when we made those appointments, they were made for a term of 1 year. However, to reduce administrative burden and also just to simplify our committee appointments, staff is recommending that what we do is we extend the current appointments all to last until the end of 2025. I have reached out to the Tourism Fernie Heritage Library Board and FDAC, and there are no concerns raised at this time with us doing that. And then what that will allow us to do is just every year annually, we will be able to do all our committee and board appointments at one point. And if council has any questions, I would be happy to answer.
That makes good sense to me. Questions from council? Councillor Ramada.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just curious, what about the other 2 organizations? You said FDAC, library, and...
So I did not reach out to the Chamber of Commerce or the Fernie Trails Alliance because we made those appointments like about a week from when our next December regular council meeting would be, and we would review those appointments.
They're already on an annual schedule, so to speak. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Seeing no more questions?
All right, cool.
Sorry, Councillor Ramadas.
Just wanted to add, Your Worship, it's been good, the council appointments, especially for myself. Just going and attending the chamber's budget process last week was pretty eye-opening.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, the organization is smaller than ours, but still some of the same challenges that we face around the table here. So it was pretty educational for myself.
Excellent. Thank you. So we won't. We won't. I guess you have to read them all.
Yes, I'm going to be a bit of a stringent corporate officer and ask that we read each resolution independently. So should we need to rescind or make changes to any of them, we can do so.
Okay.
So you can let me know when you would like me to start.
Right away. I think we're
all
good.
right. That council appoint Mayor Milligan as the Municipal Insurance Association delegate to vote on behalf of council during the Union of British Columbia Municipalities Convention in September 2025 with Councillor Nixon as alternate.
Moved by Councillor Audia Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
That council appoint Mayor Milligan to the Tinaha-Kimbasket Treaty Advisory Committee with Councillor Hamilton as the alternate for a term of 1 year beginning in January 2025.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. It's unanimous.
That council appoint Councillor Hamilton, Councillor McIsaac, and Councillor Ramadas to the Discretionary Grants Committee for a term of 1 year beginning January 2025.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
That council appoint Councillor Audie Kelly, Councillor Nixon, Councillor Shoesmith to the Parcel Tax Review Panel for a term of 1 year beginning January 2025.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
That council extend the appointment of Mayor Milligan as council liaison to the Fernie Trails Alliance Board until December 2025.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor?
That council extend the appointment of Councillor Ramadas as council liaison to the Fernie Chamber of Commerce Board until December 2025.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor?
That council extend the appointment of Councillor Nixon as council liaison to the Fernie and District Art Council Board until December 2025.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? Councillor Ramadas?
I do, Your Worship. I was just wondering how Councillor Nixon made out on that quilting session with FDIC.
Is that a direct question? Yeah. The quilting session? I don't think I was quilting at all, but I was there for the quilters. We were in the room that the quilters were in. So yeah, no, it's going along stellar.
Awesome.
You really tried to sew that up, didn't you?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
That council extend the appointment of Councillor Hamilton as council liaison to the Fernie Heritage Library Board until December 2025.
Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Ramadas. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, any discussion? No. And finally,
That council extend the appointment of Councillor Audie Kelly as the council liaison to the Tourism Fernie Board until December 2025.
moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Ramadas. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. That moves us on to item 14.1 in correspondence, a request for a municipal significant event designation for the Wednesday night socials of the Fernie and District Arts Council. Any discussion? Yeah, and it has to be renewed annually, I understand. Councillor Hamilton, sorry.
Thank you. I would move that we write the letter in support of that.
Would you read the?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Nixon.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's actually nowhere in the regulations for the LCRB or whatever it is to renew it annually. So we could do every 2 years or something like that.
Okay.
Just as a note, you don't have to have it.
Oh,
But I would put an expiry date on the letter that we send out to the art station as well.
oh, that's interesting. Councillor McIsaac, I was understood it was 1 year.
So I have a little bit of background on this. When it was originally brought out, which was 5 or 6 years ago,
Mhm.
I want to say, they explicitly said that it was only good for a single year. Since then, that language has been dropped from the request. But what I would suggest from our perspective is I don't think we should second guess what the Arts Council needs. If they ask us for the letter, whether they do it annually or every 2 years or whatever, if we're inclined to say so, then we should give it to them. We don't know what their particular relationship is with that organization, so I don't think we should presume. If they ask for it, then we should discuss and decide if we want to give it to them, whether it's 1 year or 2 years.
That's a fair comment. And
Yeah.
this letter, I'm casting my mind back, asked for 1 year. Yeah, okay. Mr. Baranowski.
I just want to flag maybe with the corporate officer, I don't know that it's specifically a letter. I think it is specifically a designation.
Yeah.
And then as by way of resolution, and then that can be confirmed by a letter to them for their application.
Thank you.
I believe.
Yes, our corporate officer is correct. So we do something that sounds very fancy called a council resolution page where I will put the council resolution on letterhead so that they're able to submit it to the liquor board. Also too, if council wishes, we can make it known when we're emailing them back that it's been brought to our attention, this language has been removed. So in future, should they wish to have, say, a 2-year time limit put onto that, they can always make that request.
Okay, thank you. I know it's been moved, but do you mind reading the resolution for us?
That the City of Fernie Council designate the Wednesday night socials as a municipally significant event.
It was moved by Councillor Hamilton, Councillor Audie Kelly. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And we move on to item 15, reports from council members, and I will start with Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Not much to report. I was away and I was sick. That's about it.
Well, thank you. Are you feeling better?
Yes, I am. I guess my heart is heavy. I had a one of Tara's classmates died by suicide a couple of weeks ago, and so we went up on Wednesday to his funeral, and it was really, really sad.
Oh, it would be.
And so it's like one of those things where you talk about mental illness, and there's all these physicians in the room, and they were bawling their eyes out. And there's no Band-Aid that goes on somebody's brain, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was a tough week for all of us at the Nixon household. So.
Understood. Yep. I'm very sorry. Councillor Audie Kelly.
Just offer condolences to Councillor Nixon and Dr. Chalmers Nixon. I'm sorry to hear that. I too don't have a ton of things to report, Your Worship, but I did really enjoy the holiday kickoff and light up the night. The fireworks was quite spectacular, and I got some Christmas presents, and it was just great. Like the weather was beautiful, and it was really nice to see everyone out enjoying what really in Fernie are lovely retail shops that we have. We're pretty lucky. So thank you to the Chamber and all of the participating businesses. And I'm looking forward to seeing folks at the city Christmas party this weekend.
Thank you. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not very much to report as well since I was away. Very happy to come back. Happy, surprisingly, to see all the snow. Where I was, it was quite substantially warmer. I guess the one comment that I would make is that a lot of people traveling, and one thing that always stands out for me is the nature of the place that we live. I'm always, and the people that live here that I see traveling so on are always so excited to come back. And I don't think that's universal for a lot of people where they live. You know, they go to travel to escape the challenges of where they live, and yet here we come back to. This is a very lovely town.
No, thank you for that.
I'm always happy to come back.
100% agree. Councillor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. I agree with Councillor McIsaac that this feels like home. Once you cross that tunnel, or from the other end, whatever else we have, yeah, it feels like home. Just a couple of updates from my end, Your Worship. We had a good meeting, Councillor Nixon, Councillor Audie Kelly, and I on the discretionary grants committee. Yeah, congrats to all those recipients for their hard work, and yeah, it was pretty good. The winter fair was that what it's called? Winter fair.
Holiday kickoff.
Holiday kickoff. Yeah, those events were pretty good, and I think just shows the dynamism in the community where, you know, we don't have the community center, but we were able to figure out logistics in 3 different centers. That was well attended and was pretty enjoyable. My kid had a stall of her own and she made some good money there, so it was good. And then like I mentioned earlier during the meeting, I was I was able to attend the chamber board meeting, their budget session. Thanks to all the board members there. There was a warm welcome, and they got me right into the business. Like it was a very good session and very transparent, and I really appreciate the candor and honesty of all the board members around the table. Looking forward to having further discussions with regards to a visitor center and other aspects. Yeah, that's all your wish.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. Yeah, I attended the holiday kickoff with my daughter. She was amazed by the fireworks, and I was amazed by the amount of people milling about uptown. I don't know when the last time I saw Second Ave that busy, that packed with humanity. It was really good to see. No, it wasn't yesterday, it was last week. The Council Cafe, most recent Council Cafe, remind citizens first and third Monday, come out and we're just sitting around having a coffee and you can come and chat with us about whatever is on your mind. Had a couple of good conversations at the last one. And lastly, last night was an event in town called State of the Snowpack, and it's the first time that it's happened in Fernie. It's this forum that's becoming quite popular in a number of other mountains resort communities, and it's just kind of a get together where a couple snow professionals, guides and whatnot present on what they're seeing in the snowpack around the area, and talk about safe travel practices, rescue practices, that sort of thing, and just like-minded individuals to get together and discuss what they're seeing so that everybody can stay safe. And it's going to be happening monthly, so I highly recommend that anybody who likes to go out and play in the mountains when they're covered in snow starts looking forward and attends it, the next one in January.
Who hosted? Sorry, Councillor.
I saw it through a number of different sources, but Avalanche Canada's South Rockies team, they were one of the presenters last night, so they would definitely be a resource. Avalanche Canada, trying to think who else they mentioned as sponsors. The Fernie Fix sponsored it. I think the Ski Hill was involved. EVSA, the Elk Valley Snow Avalanche Workshop was involved. So, yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank those councillors who brought up the holiday kickoff. Yeah, it was, nobody's happy about the closure of the community center, but the resilience and efforts of the community, having the craft fair distributed downtown brought everybody downtown, and it was, I've heard more than once, it was like a Christmas movie. There was people everywhere. There was lots of snow. Everybody was having a great time. The businesses were beautifully decorated and really welcoming, and it was really a great evening. I really enjoyed it. Like some other councillors, I was able to attend the Fernie Trails Alliance, the second half of their strategic planning process. I had yet to be appointed for the first half, so I missed that. But yeah, great session, great group of people, really committed, and a really great conversation. I won't talk about their strat plan just yet until they've got it finalized and able to share that. But yeah, really enjoyed the process. On Saturday night, I attended the Fernie Senior Center Christmas party here in this building, and it was great fun, a really good event. And you don't have to be a senior to attend, but so I would encourage folks to come out. Really enjoyed it. This Saturday, of course, we have our City of Fernie Christmas party. Looking forward to that. And prior to that, I'm doing my second round on the Salvation Army kettles at independent grocers, and quite frankly, I really enjoy that. You know, it starts typically quite quietly, and before you know it, you've had 2 hours of great conversations with people as they come through, and people are very generous in this community. So I thank them for that. And on December 16th is our next Council Cafe. So thanks for raising that, Councillor Hamilton, and here in this building. And please join us if you can. It's a great opportunity. And with that, I'll turn to our corporate officer and ask you to read the resolution to close.
apologies, that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to section 91A of the Community Charter, as the subject matter being considered at this time relates to personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton. Seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any discussion? All those in favor? We will move into closed, and thank you everybody for joining us this evening.